on India Global today. Another foreign researcher and their biological threat that it poses. A third Chinese national has been arrested, viewers, in the US. This time, in fact, it's at Detroit Metro Airport on Sunday evening. She's accused of smuggling live worms into the United States for research at the Michigan University. Officials are calling this a part of a growing agroterrorism threat that's emanating from China. This comes less than a week after two other Chinese nationals, researchers, were charged with smuggling biological pathogens to study at the University of Michigan lab. The FBI, the ICE, and Homeland Security are now investigating and getting deep into this investigation, which is now taking a 360-degree view, probing links between foreign state-backed labs and American research centers. Now, what is really at stake here? What can we expect going forward? And will this mean a reset as far as how America views biological warfare? This report has answers to all those questions.
An arrest that reads like a spy thriller. Only this time, the danger isn't a secret code. It's biological material and it's real. A Chinese scientist arriving from China was arrested this past Sunday at Detroit's airport. The charge? Smuggling biological material into the US. According to federal authorities, the scientist had previously shipped samples to a lab at the University of Michigan, not in official containers or with permits, but hidden inside books. Her research, tied to worms, may seem benign, but the method was anything but. This is the second such case in just days. Last week, two Chinese nationals were charged with attempting to smuggle toxic fungus, Fusarium graminearum, into the country. That fungus can devastate harvests, cripple supply chains, or worse, end up in food.
Fusarium graminearum is a worldwide distributed pathogen. It infects wheat and corn and other crops. And it does have the potential to produce toxins, mycotoxins, that can impact the feed quality.
Experts NDTV spoke with highlighted the importance of ramping up new security measures to counter potential bio-threats.
The issue is more that how easy is it for someone to smuggle in material, potentially dangerous biological material, through the post? And what other ways can Trojan horse attacks be conducted on any nation? And I think it's a wake-up call for every country that we really need to ramp up the measures to detect and prevent these kind of Trojan horse.
Biological threats don't always come in the form of a virus. Sometimes they arrive in an envelope, hidden, smuggled, weaponized. In 2001, 5 Americans died in the anthrax attacks when letters laced with deadly spores were mailed to media offices and lawmakers. That bioterrorism event, however, changed how pathogens were viewed, not just as health threats, but as tools of war. With multiple incidents involving foreign scientists and biological material, authorities are asking, are these isolated cases of scientific misconduct or something more calculated and sinister? With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
The big questions that we are posing on this, well, first and foremost, what safeguards are actually in place to prevent foreign biological smuggling to take place? Is this a coordinated state-backed program that is being undertaken? Remember, these are Chinese researchers, and the American establishment feels that it could be part of a larger nexus. And how vulnerable is American agricultural sector to targeted biological threats? That's an important aspect to really understand what kind of guardrails should be in place. And lastly, is this another instance of a biological warfare being unleashed by China? And let's get in Brahma Chellaney to answer some of those questions for us. Mr. Chellaney, the fact is that there is now a pattern that has come to light. There are now 3 Chinese researchers that have been caught in less than a week's time, indicating that there's a pattern and there's a coordinated effort here.
Yes, in the US, this is raising a lot of concern and also getting a lot of media attention. But if these alleged attempts by Chinese nationals to smuggle dangerous agricultural pathogens into the US, coupled with existing US-China geopolitical friction, all this is intensifying bilateral tensions and raising concerns about potential agroterrorism. But if China can do this, and I'm saying these are alleged attempts, if China can seek to smuggle dangerous agricultural pathogens into the US, you could also do that in relation to India. The Indian system is, in fact, even more porous than the American system. So we have to ask ourselves as to how we can prevent such acts of agroterrorism if indeed these attempts were agroterrorism. But certainly what we're seeing now is a renewed focus on China's biological weapons program. China is a signatory to the Biological Weapons Convention, which prohibits countries from pursuing biological weapons. But you would recall that when investigations into the origins of the COVID virus were undertaken.
Just that, Dr. Chellaney, that when the origins of COVID virus were being investigated, China refused to provide access to its labs. So it can be signatory to many pacts, but at the end of the day, it cannot be trusted.
You're absolutely right. Which is, in fact, in January 2021, the US State Department, in a fact sheet publicly released, said the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the lab that was working on coronaviruses, the US State Department said that this particular lab was actually engaged in military programs relating to research on coronaviruses. In other words, according to the US State Department, China was engaged in offensive biological weapons research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. But the key question is this: how do you protect the agricultural sector? Because you can protect your financial infrastructure, you can protect your military infrastructure, but farms are spread across every nation. So protecting the agricultural sector is very difficult, which makes biological attacks on crops or livestock much easier to carry
Indeed.
out, because these attacks go undetected.
Absolutely.
And are difficult to trace.
And probably they've come to light when damage has been done. Final question I want to ask you is that these are instances that are not only limited to US. It could happen to any country, anywhere. You mentioned India as well. Do you think some sort of a uniform guardrail needs to be in place?
Certainly, but the problem is this, that international law is weak against the powerful states because there is no enforcement mechanism. How do you enforce international law, especially against the powerful states? So what happens is this harsh reality. International law is powerful against the powerless, but powerless against the powerful. So even if you have international conventions and treaties, there is no enforcement mechanism. So the powerful can actually abuse international norms, they can flout international norms, and they can engage in activities which are antithetical
Indeed.
to customary international law and even to international morals and international rules.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave it there. Brahma Chellaney, always a pleasure to have you on the show to discuss what is now becoming increasingly clear that there could be biological warfare that China may have unleashed on US. All right.